If you currently run a yoga business and you're sick of being undervalued, or maybe you just want to get more leads and sales from your website, you're going to want to stick around for this one. We recently dissected the website of a yoga teacher and gave some practical suggestions and feedback on ways that he can significantly increase his online results. And some of the principles and strategies we cover in this video can be applied to pretty much any business. And you're going to want to stick around to the end because some of these might surprise you, especially compared to what you might have been told in the past. Stay tuned. So got your website here, Daresh. Haven't looked through this yet, so this is going to be the first time I'm going through this. So first thing I would say here is as a visitor coming onto this site for the first time, there is absolutely nothing here that tells me why I should be speaking to you. Other than the menu you've got at the top, I can see that you offer potentially some yoga classes, some yoga teacher training, but there's nothing other than that that really says, why would I want to deal with Daresh over anybody else? What I would suggest doing with this space here is to have, similar to what we had in the last website, so have some form of headline that really speaks to your audience and captures their attention. So again, this is going to come down to knowing who your customer avatar is and some of the pain points that they're having. Again, if you are somebody that maybe teaches advanced yoga, you could maybe speak about, you know, being able to help people progress in their yoga game. Or if you're somebody who's just about, you know, the fun and the energy of it, because I know you do your Shakti dance classes as well, speak into that, you know, speak into the stress that people are going through and that you help them, you know, come alive and reignite that fire or that energy within them. You know, think about some way that you can kind of take a problem and the solution you present to that problem to make it very clear to people why they should stick around. Because you'll be amazed, like we've looked at hundreds of these websites now, and when you look into the analytics, so many people won't even scroll beyond here. They literally won't scroll below the fold. They will come onto this first bit and they'll be like, I have no idea what this is, and they'll click off of it because there's just so much choice out there. And look, this is quite a big scroll as it is. Look, one thing I would say here, if you are, you know, if you're somebody who has celebrity status or you just have tons and tons of customers, right? You're inundated with customers. This is fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with having a big shot of you. You know, maybe it looks a bit stylish and minimalistic if that's what you're going for. That's absolutely fine. But if you do want to start increasing the amount of leads or the amount of sales you're getting from your website, you really need to start putting that kind of you know, thing to one side, the whole minimalism thing, and start thinking about, okay, how can I really speak to people here? Could also be worth, you know, maybe if you have some form of entry point offer for new customers, having a sign up form. You know, sometimes what we suggest and what we test with a lot of our customers is to have your headline here and then literally having a sign up form right next to it. Book onto your first class completely free now. Put in their name and email address, right? Sign up straight away. And they'll get like, they'll go into an email sequence, they'll get a free thing for a new class. You know, whatever the case may be, like think about your offer, your value proposition, and think about how that would work best. But definitely something to consider if you do want to get more leads and sales from your website. I would suggest having something here for sure. Rich, have you got anything to say about this initial point?
Well, your assessment's almost bang on. Just one quick one. Can we look at what it looks like on mobile view with an F12, just to consider what it's going to look like on mobile?
Mm-hmm.
Tablet, mobile. Okay, so scroll up. That's the top, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a very different design. Probably would consider doing something with that, especially since we probably agree that, I mean, a rough number, plucking it out of the sky here, but let's say 70% of people are using mobile. I mean, if that's the first kind of impression, I feel like it needs a real strong sort of headline explaining what this is, because I mean, you can see ceiling of something else there and then a video. Of course, a lot of people are going to click it and they're going to see what's in the video, but just a headline, bold promise, a statement, something that kind of summarizes what you do would then obviously give people the reason to then want to go and look at it. So you pretty much nailed it with the header or the hero shot at the top here. It needs context. I mean, let's play the Martian or like the idiot game, because the obvious thing is we want to keep things simple, because obviously not everyone knows you or what you do immediately, and like you said, unless you have a huge following. So again, it's just having something that kind of encapsulates or summarizes what this page is about and give people a reason to continue on down. Yeah, that would be the main thing. Optimize mobile from the initial view I can see there, and a statement or a summarizing of, like, you know, what you're going to get from being here on the header, and then obviously see how it goes from there, and obviously do some analytics to see beyond that point.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. So I've noticed you've got an ebook here, which is that's great, by the way. That's a great start, because a lot of people don't have any kind of entry point offer on their website, so that's good you've got that. Just some suggestions to think about here. Free chakra ebook, it's very vague. I mean, again, this is going to come down to who your audience is. Like, do they even know what chakras are? If they do, then great. And maybe think about making it a bit more advanced, because then to them, it's just a generic chakra ebook and they already know what, you know, they know all about it possibly. So maybe it could be something like aligning your chakras, or whatever it is you're offering in there. Make it sound more enticing, you know, brand the ebook itself a bit and give it a name. I think that could even be something you potentially put up here, you know, as that initial entry point offer. And maybe even think about getting some graphics created for this book as well, because what you'll find is that sometimes when you've just got a button, like, it sounds nice, but people can't, when you can actually see something tangible, you can see like a mock-up of a book with a nice attractive cover on it, it really makes people feel like they're getting something tangible, something real, something valuable, as opposed to just some random button. Now, the other thing I've noticed here as well, this isn't, so we have what we basically call it gated content, and gated content is where you would have something that where people need to enter their name and email address or give some sort of information to access it. If you're looking to generate more leads, I would absolutely have this as gated content, so that people have to put in their name and email address and become a subscriber to download the book. Now, you don't have to do that, but another way, again, if you are looking to generate more leads, is to maybe at the bottom of this book, to put a call to action and have a button where people can take that next step with you, right? So again, this section to conclude, this would be a great place to have a button, or like maybe down here to say, book onto your first free class with Daresh, or book a free consultation, or however your sales kind of process works. So just think about, you know, having some sort of way to think about that next step. You always want to think, whenever any stage on your website or any part of your customer journey, really, it should serve the purpose of taking people and guiding people onto that next step, right? So it's like, after they've read that book, what do you want them to then do? Don't just leave them and expect them to know what you want them to do next. Guide them. Say like, hey, now that you've read this book and you know you understand this better, next step is to book a call with me and we can go through, you know, whatever it is. So just think about how you can bridge the stages in your customer journey. Rich, do you have anything to add there?
You pretty much like said what I was saying, like under my voice, let's say, all the way through there. It was like almost on point. Again, I mean, just looking at the page that it is now, I mean, literally, you bring the value up when you see something obvious. Like you said, you could create the graphics, show the book, what does it actually look like? And you'll see this everywhere. If you ever go and sign up for a lead magnet from anyone else, you'll see the same sort of thing taking place. I could yank up 3 case studies in a heartbeat where they're showing the value, so you can actually see the things you're getting. So book plus added value or something, and then it's like, okay, it's now a no-brainer. Let's give my name and email because I want that. You need to make it very, very clear. I also think like it would help if you moved that up, because this is kind of where the interesting stuff is. I would keep it really simple. I'd have something like on the left-hand side on desktop there, go to the image, sort of like grey out the background slightly to create some contrast, and then have ideal end result message there, then have an opt-in box to the side, and then have an image of what this thing actually is. And then it's a very simple sort of transition. This is what we're going to give you. This is how it's going to happen. This is how you get it. Simplified.
Yeah, definitely. Totally agree with that. And look, this is actually a really nice ebook as well, Daresh. Like, it's nicely presented. It gives, I might actually read this because I've been wanting to have a book like this. So yeah, I'll definitely have a look through this. But yeah, I think you could really, in terms of graphics, you know, and one thing like Rich just touched on there, not only having the graphic of the book, but it can also be quite nice too. You may have seen some images where they have some of the pages like folding out. So it almost gives you a little teaser into the content of the book. Again, it's just enticing people to want to read it, because again, if you've got nice, you know, nice graphics and images and stuff, definitely use that, because people are gonna see it and think, oh, I want to see what's inside there. This looks really interesting.
That image is perfect.
Yeah. So it's definitely worth getting something designed on that and then put onto the page for sure. So let's continue. I like the way it's
color coded the actual pages as well, because obviously each chakra has its own color code, and it's been literally made in a system, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So again, the next thing, and we covered this in the last time, but about me, I think this is too early to have this. And ideally, you want to have about you as a menu thing, because before you start telling people about yourself, you want their permission that they actually even care enough to read about you. So, and let me just clarify this actually, because that's not to say you don't need to give some credibility or social proof or show that you are an expert on your topic. And this actually isn't bad. This isn't one of the worst offenders we've seen, because it's quite short and concise and to the point. So it's not like paragraphs and paragraphs of your life story. This is kind of, you know, gives a very nice little intro. So actually this isn't too bad as an about me section. But ideally, again, in these first couple of bits, the main header, and then even below, you want to be, again, addressing people's pain points and really telling them what you're offering them before you start telling them about, you know, you and your credibility. So we've got some nice sliders here. Join the movement. I like that. I like that join the movement thing. That's, you know, it's good. Sorry, mate, what did you say?
Gives you something to relate to. It allows you to feel a part of something, which is very important, because it taps into quite deep emotional needs, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's a nice touch, that. And, you know, because a lot of people would just say, like, join my newsletter. Yeah. Right. Like, why do I want to join your newsletter out of the hundreds I've got? So I think that's some quite nice wording you've got there. As featured in wellness. Okay, so this social proof, this is great. You've got tons of things here. I would definitely have this higher up. I would have a featured as, and keep it relatively minimalistic. I would actually put this onto a slider, and I would just have a very kind of thin slider here, featured in. So again, that's kind of addressing that credibility bit about, like, why should I even listen to this guy? You know, you've got that there, like, you're trusted by some of these brands.
But you're not bigging yourself up too much. You're not making it all about you. So that's a really, really good idea. That's exactly it. And you'll see it in a few places as well, where it's just like, you know what? This is why you should listen to me.
Yeah. Okay, again, we got some testimonials here, which is awesome. That's really, really good. Again, I think these testimonials should possibly even be higher, because again, you got to think you will lose a lot of people before they even get to this stage, and that's a shame. Like, you really want to show pains and then proof that you can help, right? And then the social proof and all of that, like, before you even start telling them about you. And I would say even before, like, these pictures can come right at the bottom, because again, that doesn't really give anything to anyone. The pictures, it kind of allows them to, you know, they're cool pictures, and it allows people to maybe get to know you better. But again, right at the start, again, the focus needs to be on the customer. How can I serve the customer? How can I speak into their pain points, their concerns, their needs, whatever they might be? And, you know, things like this, social proof, testimonials are really powerful just because it's giving people a glimpse of what they may be able to access, right? I felt nourished, safe, and revitalized. It's really like cosmic roller coaster. This is awesome. So definitely have this higher up. So we've got this pop up here. There's some issues with formatting on this. Yeah, there's some issues with formatting. Another note I'd say here, and this is an interesting one. So when it comes to collecting people's details, it's ideally you want to be getting someone's name and email, even just their first name. The reason being, when you're emailing them, it feels much more personal when you can use people's names in the subject line or even in the first line. So like, you know, imagine if you get a email in your inbox and it says, "I've got something for you, Duresh. I've got something for you, Tom or Rich." Like it makes you want to open it. But when you don't know people's names, it's very difficult to have that level of engagement and personalization. However, the caveat to that is that naturally, the more form fields you add, the more your the less conversions you're going to get ultimately. From my experience, and we've tested this on several websites, adding just a name in here doesn't make a huge difference. I think people are used to putting in their name and email address, but you might notice a slight decrease. But I think for the long-term value of having that additional data, getting more people to open the emails, in my opinion, it's well worth it. What are your thoughts on that, Rich?
It's interesting. I've actually been split testing something similar. I've never done it as just email because I very much share your view. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying every single message, every single line should say, "Hey, Tom, guess what? That doesn't work," because then people soon spot it. They smell a rat. They're like, "Okay, look, this is blatantly intentional." It's just like you have to think about normal human relationships. So like when you first meet someone, you know, you're not going to start calling a mate or buddy. You will use their name. So it makes sense to have a little bit of this maybe, but not overly used. And then in the sense of this, again, for that, I would have first name and email. And then at some point, this is something which is big that I'm actually looking at right now. And that is that, you know what, I'm currently about to run a test where you're adding in like a number for WhatsApp purposes. Because again, it's like emails are wonderful, and they're still the highest converting and most profitable method according to recent statistics. But there are other avenues. So if you're obviously not massive, I don't know, Duresh, so I'm not sure personally, but let's say you were quite small, for an example. If you were able to like literally have something underneath that says, you know,
not in height, just to clarify. Not in height, just to clarify. We're not talking about height.
Yeah, mobile number. Yeah, so WhatsApp. So you can just send them a message or connect on that. So if they wanted to take that relationship further, you can have an actual connection with someone. That's something to consider like further down the line, because emails are great. But I don't know about you, Tom, but I personally think that when you have a phone call with someone or when you actually have a one-to-one conversation, it's so much more powerful than just emails. And that's something to think further and long-term.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and the only thing I'd add to that is the amount of information you ask for should be ultimately dictated by the value of what you're providing something. If you know you are providing something of extreme value that solves a huge pain for people, you can get away with asking for more email, for more information. If it's just a very subtle thing like sign up to my newsletter, then no, that should be very, very simple. Name and email address, nothing else. Because you don't, why would you need their number for a newsletter, right? So just think about what it is that you're offering and kind of map it to that. So let's come on to classes. So let's see what we've got here. Okay, so this is relatively simple. So I'm assuming this is a fixed schedule that you do, Duresh, or maybe you just, you know, update this as you go. Nothing in particular wrong with this, other than it, you know, it would be nice if people could maybe book onto this. If you use some form of booking system or appointment system, you know, things like Acuity, for example, they do actually allow you to embed your calendars onto the website. So I think that could be quite a nice thing to have that on there and just allow people to book on. you know, instead of just having to go through this. Because again, it's coming back to that point of the customer journey. It's like, great, we know now that you have, what's day today? Wednesday. So you've got yoga at Vinyasa Flow at 6:30 today. Okay, what now? You're kind of expecting people to, you know, making them do the work. You really want to think about, how can I continue this flow? How can I continue this journey? That was a completely unintentional pun, by the way, with flow, but it was quite good. Quite happy with how that worked out. Rich, anything to add to this page?
I'd like to see an image. Is that the whole page?
Yeah, it's very, very, very simplistic, very basic.
Image on the left and right of actually what the classes look like. Allow them to actually see it. Because words are great, but, you know, I mean, if you're not an absolute expert, I mean, I don't know about anyone else, but for me, if I was going for like a golf lesson, let's say, because golf was my thing, I'd be like, okay, so working on driving or iron shots. If I'm a complete newbie, I'm like, what the heck's that? But when you see images of people actually doing it, you go, oh, so that's what it's like. And it makes it more, I'm more interested in wanting to show up, because I get more of a taste or a fly on the wall perspective of what that sort of like experience would be like.
Yeah, definitely. Great shout. Cool. So yoga teacher training, yoga 70-hour immersion, the art of slowing down with Daresh and special guests, an in-depth course of quality offering and illuminating joyful experience of yoga transformation. And dedicated practitioners and yoga teachers who wish to deepen their understanding. So, okay, so here's a good example here. Like, so this page, again, like, this is who it's for, right? Aimed at dedicated practitioners of yoga and aspiring teachers who wish to deepen their understanding of the physical and authentic well-being with a mindful approach, with a mindful approach to these restorative practices. Well-being with a mindful approaches. I'm not sure if I'm just reading that wrong, but anyway, you know, you've got an audience, you've got a potential pain point there. I mean, it hasn't really drilled into the pain. It just says they wish to deepen their understanding. You know, maybe it's that they, you know, what are the benefits? Think about this, Daresh. Like, think about what the benefits are after they have gone through this training. Because it's like that analogy, right? People don't buy the drill bit. They want the hole, and they don't want the hole in the wall. They want the picture on the frame, right? Think about the benefit of the benefit of the benefit. So, like, what do people actually want after they have taken this class? What's their goal? Is it that they're going to be able to connect better with their students? Is it that they're going to be able to charge more for their work? Is it that they're going to be able to be more valued at what they're doing, right? Really think about some of those tangible benefits that you're offering people. And then within there, what are the pain points, right? Maybe they're being undervalued at the moment because, you know, they maybe they need to deepen their understanding first. You know, maybe they don't feel like they truly, you know, understand enough, and that they need to be kind of thrown into it with this immersion training. So just have a think about that. Rich, anything you wanted to add on that?
Just put a post in the side there, mate. Have a look in the chat. People don't buy what you do, they buy what you do it. I'm pretty much on board with what you said. It's about the end result, which is why I like the connect with your calm, because that for me is like the ultimate headline. That for me would be like the initial first sight. Connect with your calm, and then break down into segments what that really means. So you could say something like, you know, feeling stressed and frustrated and wanting to chill out. You know, here's how, breakdown, and then boom, and it comes with this. It's just something that's going to enable them to, so it makes sense to them. It's like it needs to, I think a lot of us tend to speak in very complex language, and the most interesting study I spotted the other day, and this made me laugh, and I'm going to share it here now, and that was that what's the one thing that it was trying to remember, Donald Trump and maybe you've heard it, Tom. Which one is it? Donald Trump and someone else had in common. Who was it? Can you remember?
I'm not sure. I haven't heard it.
Sure. Basically, it was a case of when we communicate, we tend to speak on like 7th grade level. So we use big words to try and sound intelligent because that's like how we want to come across. But if you actually lower the level and speak in really simplistic like language where anybody can understand, you know, and we drop the ego a little, we get better results. That was kind of the message I was trying to share, because I love the connect with your calm. And if we could kind of break off onto that and simplify that into a tiny bit more of a, into a text, and then have what's underneath that, I feel that would really hit. And then we could move the yoga 70-hour immersion into the what it is after we've got the why. So I would probably experiment with moving these around a bit so people see the end result, they know what they're getting, and now it's great. Now, how do I get it? Which is the natural progression of the next step. Now we list what the how is, and now it's okay. Now, how do I start, or how do I get into this? Then plant that. So it's thinking of the syntax, the sequence, the way it's listed out.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is I would say, because this is you know, it's a relatively high value product. So I think you want to have a much better structured landing page here. You really want to be speaking in some pain points and then showing those benefits you're delivering on. Again, like connect with your calm, that's a benefit for them, you know, on an emotional level and their state of mind. But again, what about some of the benefits for their business, right? Because I'd imagine as a yoga teacher, I would probably be seeing this as a business investment as well. Am I going to get more clients as a result of this? Am I going to be able to charge more for my services after this? Are people going to see me as more of an authority after this? Like, really think about all of these things. And then something that can be really effective on landing pages or sales pages is to have what's called a call out. So calling out particular audiences who this might be for. So it might be like, again, you've kind of done it here. So dedicated practitioners of yoga and aspiring teachers. So there might be one for aspiring teachers, and it might go into a bit more detail on that persona. Are you an aspiring teacher who is, you know, struggling to gain traction and to be taken seriously? Do you want, you know, really, like, again, touching on the pain points of each of these individual audiences, and just thinking about what you can bring them. Again, it just needs to be, make it all about them, all about them. Think about where they are, think about their concerns, what they're going through, what issues they have, where they want to be, and speak to that. And then, like Rich said, then you can get into what it is and how it's delivered. Right, what have we got here? Retreats coming soon. Okay, that's fair enough.
Nice, coming soon part as well. Highlighting.
So this looks like, is this an Instagram feed? Yes.
Awesome.
Mark your diaries. Okay, so we've got one blog post, it looks like. Yeah, okay, so there's one blog post. So yeah, I mean, Diresh, it looks like, oh, this was actually done quite recently. A lot of fun teaching recently. Okay, awesome. So when it comes to blogging, I think there is, and there's nothing wrong with this, by the way. I think it's great, and I think it's nice to be able to have things like this where you're talking about some of the stuff you've been up to, you know, especially if you're, you know, a personal brand, or you are the kind of main face behind the brand. It's great to be sharing things like that. But another element to the blog that a lot of businesses forget about is it can be such an incredible tool to driving more qualified leads and more traffic to your website. And the best way to do this is to think about what are your potential customers going to be searching for on Google. So again, if we come back to that example of the teacher training, it might be, how can I charge more for my yoga classes, right? And then maybe you would have a blog that is titled how to charge more for your yoga classes. So you can then start potentially ranking in Google for that search term, right? So you want to be thinking about some of the potential things your customers would be searching for, again, some of those pain points they have, and then writing articles to help them with that. And, you know, one thing it's going to do is give you the ability to potentially rank in Google over time if you can build up some momentum, start getting some links back to your site. But then also it shows people that you are about giving value, right? You're about service, you're about helping people. And it's the kind of thing where if it's a really good quality article, Some people might even share it. You know, if there's a yoga teacher who's part of a wider community, they might think, oh my God, this is an amazing article, share it with their community. And before you know it, you've got more and more traffic coming. So really think about that. So there's nothing wrong with having this at all. Like definitely have like these personal ones as well. I think it's a nice touch, but also think about adding in some articles based on like queries that your customers might be searching for. Anything to add on that, Rich?
I mean, again, you've pretty much kind of summarized it again. I'm trying to pick it apart and see, is there anything I can really add? I mean, other than maybe, I mean, it could be the stream, but is, you know, the text size, I'm noticing for me that it doesn't seem very large. You're obviously seeing it in real time. What's the text size like for you? Is it easy enough to read?
Yeah, it's pretty good for me, I think. Text size.
It's fine. In that case, you've nailed it, mate.
Yeah. In fact, the only other thing I would potentially add to this, you've got a sidebar here, something that can potentially be quite useful on the sidebar if you do have any lead magnets like that one again. So if you picture here, if you have that chakra book, having a graphic here saying grab your free chakra book now. So if people were to be coming through to one of your blog posts from Google, they're reading through this. Oh, look, there's this awesome book. Let me just download this. Again, like always, every part of your website, even the blog, think about the customer journey. Think about how can I now bridge this to the next stage or the next step that I want people to take. So, yeah, I think that is pretty much it, Daresh. I really hope that's been helpful. Again, if you're not able to watch this live, I will send the recording over to you so you can go through this in your own time. And I hope everybody watching has found that valuable as well. I think we're going to wrap it up there for today because, well, I mean, we spent half an hour on that one nearly. So you got a good roasting there, Daresh. You got a good roasting. Guys, again, I really hope it's helped. If there's anyone watching now and you do want us to take a look at your website, feel free to send me a message or drop it in the comments below, whatever you feel more comfortable with. Again, if you can't tune in live, we're doing these every Wednesday at 1 p.m. So if you can't tune in live, we will, of course, send you the recording afterwards anyway. Anything else to add, Rich?
No, summarized it well, mate. If we've got nothing else to review, then yeah, I was going to say, great job with the website. A few little things we've given you to kind of implement. I hope you found that useful and you take that on board. And obviously, I'd love to hear how that kind of goes if you make any of the changes, to see if there's any changes or results and improvement.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome, guys. Well, we will love you and leave you and speak to you again next Wednesday. See you soon.